Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Slamtown. Of course, I'm Mike Ginn. That's Dan Bakley. Slamtown is the show where we take a topic, kind of pick it apart, whether it's a debate or kind of like looking a little bit more introspective into it. This episode, the question really is Ring of Honor. We know how they ended. We know that they released all their talent, with the exception of like a couple people. And they're starting brand new on April 1st. So we'll give our thoughts and opinions, what we think is going to happen with Ring of Honor going forward. This will be more of a kind of a predictions type show. But before we get to that, of course, Fighters First. Go ahead and check out fightersfirst.shop. All of these episodes, all of our other stuff, Dan's Cage, My IQ, me with Art of MMA and all that good stuff. All that can be found on Fighters First Network right here on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the content, and head over to fightersfirst.shop and get all the latest dopest merch. Of course, we got the Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid collections over there. So real wrestling fans, go ahead, head over to fightersfirst.shop. But Dan, that's the business side of things. You ready to get into this episode?
Oh, definitely. This is a good topic today.
Yeah, I was struggling what to think about to do this episode because we kind of covered quite a bit through our first few episodes. Of course, we're recording this right around Royal Rumble time, so there's a whole set of other surprises that can come with that. But I think the biggest news for me is, what is Ring of Honor going to be? We know when they launched 19 years ago, they were kind of coming off in a void, right? Like ECW went away. WCW went away. It was pretty much WWE. And I think Impact had just started as well, probably maybe the year before, or maybe the same year as Ring of Honor. And Impact was this new thing by Jeff Jarrett. Nobody really knew what to make of that. They were on weekly pay-per-views. Ring of Honor in Baltimore, Maryland started up, Kerry Silkin and that crew started up this promotion that was kind of different. It was about the action in the ring. It was about a code of ethics, and they were kind of blending some of the more traditional aspects of sports and professionalism, and they just did it differently, right? And over the years, we've seen CM Punk's, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, obviously Bryan Danielson, every single person you're rooting for in AEW was probably in Ring of Honor at some point. Almost all of the great independent stars that kind of came up through WWE's system, whether it was FCW or early days of NXT, all came from Ring of Honor. Of course, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, all those people. So it has a history of developing talent. It has a history of being a breeding ground of some of the best talent we've ever seen. Of course, nowadays we're talking about still like the Briscoe brothers who have been there forever. People like Jonathan Gresham and Bandito, Matt Taven and OGK and, Mike Bennett and all those guys. They're all kind of still around. Jay Lethal went and jumped shipped over to AEW. So we're going to kind of talk about that. We're going to talk about what's still left because they basically let everybody go. And what's coming forward because we just don't know. So that's kind of the subject today. Before we get going with what's going forward, Dan, what did you make of this whole situation when they basically let everybody go and went into hiatus for a few months?
I think it was kind of much needed for the promotion because they weren't making much money, money wise.
They were bleeding money during the whole pandemic.
Yeah. They weren't putting money into it to begin with because they've always been stingy when it comes to money and promotion. They had the whole thing where with All In the first year where they had their chance to put their name on it. They had their chance for it to be Ring of Honor and the Young Bucks.
And Sinclair Company didn't want to do it.
Yeah. So that was a fallen opportunity there. It's always been just like a thing. I don't want to compare it to WCW, but it's like he has that love for wrestling, but he doesn't want to invest too much into it. So he puts like the bare minimum into the promotion. So I think to just kind of cut clean, freeze the promotion, let all the wrestlers go, and then actually come up with a game plan is kind of the right idea in the sense, because if you're not making money, it's not going to be any better to prolong it. But if you can kind of stop it there and kind of do a reset button and actually look over what you did wrong and then to fix it, you might be able to salvage something out of it.
Yeah. Christopher Ripley. He's the president of Ring of Honor, kind of like the figurehead for. Well, he's the president of Sinclair Broadcasting Group, but he also oversees Ring of Honor and everything else. You got Kerry Silkin's kind of like an ambassador. He sold the company about 10 years ago. So now it's really kind of like almost how WCW was, right? Like you had Eric Bischoff kind of running things, but behind the scenes, Turner was kind of pulling all the strings. Especially, and that was the downfall of WCW at the end because they were more corporate and didn't care about the product the way Ted Turner cared about the product. Say what you want about the billionaire. Guess what? That billionaire loved wrestling. He loved it from back in the days of Dusty Rhodes and all that stuff. And he was invested like as a fan. So he let Eric Bischoff and them do everything. But when Turner, Time Warner, AOL, all that got involved, then WCW went to trash. Sinclair's owned them since, I believe, 2014. And they're going to treat it like a product. They're going to treat it like a TV show. They're not treating it like they care about wrestling. They have at other times had different combat sports stuffs on their networks. They featured MMA. They featured kickboxing. They've done a bunch of other different things on different networks that they own. Obviously, Sinclair Broadcasting is a huge conglomerate. You got Viacom and you got Sinclair. They're like 1-2. Yeah. My problem and my biggest fear is that this is going to kill Ring of Honor because it's they let go of all the talent that you associated. And now all these people are going through these forbidden doors, right? You got the Briscoes basically kind of feuding with FTR. They're also going over in Game Changer Wrestling, GCW. You got like the Ring of Honor crew kind of going into Impact, right? We've seen Gresham have a match with Steve Macklin. We've seen the OGK, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, along with Maria, PCO, and Vincent. They all kind of have like this little invasion gimmick going on with Impact. And funny enough, out of that whole crew, only Jonathan Gresham and Maria have contracts with Ring of Honor. Everybody else is actually a free agent. They can do what they want to do. Maria's contract's kind of weird. The way the contracts kind of came up, most of them were coming up at the end of the year into early March. And that's why they're relaunching in April because all those contracts are clear. There are a few exceptions. Maria was one of them. I believe the Briscoes are one of them. Jonathan Gresham is one of them. I think Jay Lethal had like a year left, but they let him walk because he wanted to walk. He's like,
they gave the option that if you wanted to walk at the end of the 2021, that you could just walk. They just wouldn't pay you until the spring. It was your option. If you wanted to stay, they would pay you to the spring. And a lot of these wrestlers decide that if they had opportunities elsewhere, they would take it. And only, just like you said, only a couple people stayed. But
and you also mentioned off air one of the things we were talking about coming in this episode. They also are getting rid of a lot of the champions. A lot of the championships are getting rid of, so they're starting completely fresh. They're we know on April 1st, we know there's going to be a title unification. That's the only thing we know in Garland, Texas, when they do their relaunch. It's going to be Bandito versus Gresham. We know that. Other than that, we don't know. They keep teasing a big announcement that Ring of Honor fans will love. But Supercard of Honor 15, that's the main event. The interim title versus the champion title unification. We assume the Briscoes will be involved. We can assume that Deonna Purrazzo, who is now the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, she won it on Impact. I was going to bring that up, yeah. I don't think they'll probably do a title change before then. They'll probably let her carry it because obviously they have Mickey with the Impact title going into the Royal Rumble. They're not going to take away that spotlight for Impact Wrestling. Deonna also, I believe, holds is it Game Changers title too as well? Or is it she has the Mexican title?
Oh, yeah. She has the AAA. It's the AAA and the Ring of Honor.
So she's collecting belts almost Kenny Omega style. Like she's going around everywhere. She's one person that's thrived since WWE released her. But we don't know going forward, right? So this is the part we kind of switch gears because we know what's happened in Ring of Honor. We know the history of Ring of Honor. And we know it's kind of like here's the worst part. The wrestlers don't know what's going to happen with Ring of Honor. And I'll get your opinion first of what you think is going to happen. But I personally definitely think it's going to be a brand new Ring of Honor. Like, I don't think they're going back to the code of ethics and code of conduct. I'm sorry, code of honor, and I don't think they're going back to all that stuff. I know Jonathan Gresham's still trying to do it on TV, but you saw how Steve Macklin treated that whole concept. Yeah. He was like, so what do you think? What happens April 1st?
I think it's going to be a better Ring of Honor, per se, money-wise for them. I think they're going to make more money. And I think the format's going to change dramatically. I don't think we're going to have the Ring of Honor TV anymore. I think they'll still keep the website up so people can keep track of everything, of events. But I think it's going to be more like Game Changer Wrestling than people think it's going to be. I think they're going to do a lot of events, like several times a month. I think they're going to do short-term contracts instead of like the 1 to 2 year guarantee contracts. I think they're going to do it by event. That's what GCW does.
Yeah, they keep bringing in all the talent. They pay per.
They can bring in whoever they want. Obviously, the champions are going to be prioritized, so they won't have to worry about if they're going to be in the events or not. But they're just going to bring in all these talent from all over. And then with that, they're not tied up on all this dead money per se. They got all the short-term money. They bring all the people in that'll watch it because it's going to have the Ring of Honor name. And then you're going to focus on just 3 titles. So it's going to be a lot easier because when you have all these titles, 6, 7, 8 titles, that's a lot of programming you have to do to put eyes on it. With this, you only have eyes on the 3 main titles. You contract the wrestlers in with how the indie scene is now. That's what it is. It's all short-term contracts.
I mean, even New Japan's doing that. New Japan's paying, like, they're bleeding money and they're bringing in like a wrestler here and there, kind of like they pay them per tour, right?
Yeah,
like a series of events per tour.
And they've done that for the longest time. It's just they're doing it a little bit more now. That's how they do
Forbidden Door, yeah.
That's how they built the New Japan strong side of New Japan. They've done that. I think that's what they're going to do. I think it's the best way, product-wise, to keep it going and to get into the green now and out of the red. And you might not make what you thought you were going to make when Ring of Honor was originally started, but you're going to get money in. And like I said, stay in the green this time because your investments are outweighing what you're putting out.
Do you think, before I voice my opinion, do you think AEW and even MLW to an extent killed Ring of Honor? Because Ring of Honor was kind of like this 2nd, 3rd, 4th promotion that was kind of trucking along with their rule set and their kind of specific way of doing things that was different. It was different than WWE. It was a contrast from Impact Wrestling. It was its own thing. And the fans, the diehard fans kind of gravitated towards it. But then you have a company like AEW pops up that has a lot of the diehard fans kind of going to that because all the people they loved in Ring of Honor, all the people they loved in MLW, in New Japan, and all these other independent promotions, and even some cast-offs from WWE all of a sudden are on this show. And they're doing things almost old NWA style where you see the bloody matches, you see the rules breaking, you see the outside the ring stuff, you see the outside interference in the factions, and to a lesser extent, it's more Attitude Era wrestling that was successful that they're kind of like toning down but still bringing back that WWE moved away from. Do you think that will influence Ring of Honor in their style going forward? That, like I said, the Code of Honor is gone and that they're coming out straight up like a normal wrestling promotion?
I don't think it's going to be a normal wrestling promotion. Just like I said, I think they're going to do things the way that's done now. But I don't think that AEW and MLW killed themselves. I think they did it to themselves. So like I said, by being too stubborn, not putting your name on the all-in
that was build a big
up. That cost them a lot of money right there, just for the fact that they didn't put themselves in there and invest in that, because that would have helped
the talent. They just didn't want the name.
Yeah. And then with what they were doing, I think all it did was kind of kill their momentum, and with their reluctance to put money into the promotion and to actually get eyes on it more than just the internet, And like it was destined to happen sooner or later, because when you only go on TV at 2:00 in the morning on a lot of networks,
Yeah, it's
you're
1
not
a.m.
going to
here.
thrive.
Yeah.
You're not going to thrive.
I found
all.
it by accident one day. I was flipping the channels.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wait, I get Ring of Honor? Oh, shit.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with why I think that it killed them. If you would have gotten on that All In, you might have gotten a network. With how bad Impact has done, they still are
Well, let's be
alive.
clear. They have a network. Sinclair
Yeah.
owns them. They have a network. They can go on any network they want. The problem is Sinclair's wasn't invested into them.
Yeah. And if they're not invested in them, and you put a product out, you're not going to do good unless you get lucky somehow.
So before we get to what happens April 1st, I'm gonna give my actually fans will be pissed off at me. I'm gonna give a morbid view. I think Ring of Honor is dead by the end of 2022. Anytime I've seen kind of these relaunches, like company takes time off and then they come back, it usually doesn't work out very well. It's normally like a last ditch effort. Like, all right, we're gonna take a few months off. We're gonna clear ourselves of the books, like you said, and we're gonna come back. We know it's coming April 1st as far as them trying to have an event coming back, and a big deal about that, But when you call a show your final battle, right, and you let everybody go, what is coming back? Because these wrestlers aren't waiting around. They're going to go get contracts with Impact and AEW. And yeah, the forbidden door might be wide open. And I'm sure like AEW's always been great about letting their talent go to here, and here, and here, wherever they want to do, as long as they're there for recording TV. They don't care where else they go because they don't do a house show circuit. They do everything with their Dark and Evolution on TV taping days. So everything for them is digital media and television.
Yeah.
They let Jon Moxley go to Game Changer Wrestling. They let him show up in independent promotions whenever he wants to do it. As long as it doesn't interfere with TV, Tony Khan's like, do what you want. Ring of Honor can come out and have all these people kind of circling through, even Jay Lethal, whenever they can like afford to pay them for an appearance. My problem is if you're not doing contracts and you're not having a core to build around like they did in the past, like you want to make real Ring of Honor fans happy, get a core of independent wrestlers that might have just a little bit of following and build them into cult status the way you did before, because that is
do you think that's why GCW is so successful?
I think GCW does a good job. I don't think GCW is successful, first of all. I think they're a gimmick promotion that is kind of...
Well, they're the number 3 promotion in the world right now.
No, they're not. No, they're at least like 5th.
No, they're 3rd. I looked.
WWE, AEW. I still put Impact Wrestling above them. I put New Japan above them.
Well, I'm taking New Japan out. I'm talking about in America. GCW has a following, and they do the same. They're doing the same thing that you're saying that Ring of Honor seems like they're going to go to, and you're saying it's going to fail. But
MLW above GCW too.
But
MLW has all the contracts to keep building. They keep adding more stars. They keep adding more contracts. I don't know where the technical ranking is. You may be right, but I have them at least 5th on my chart of coming to name of where promotions are. And if Ring of Honor comes back strong, then they're number 6.
But you could still thrive and not have to have these contracts long term.
I think
just like I said,
GCW is very gimmicky. They're very gimmicky.
I wouldn't say they're gimmicky because they only do that hardcore style once in a while. That's just what they're known for. Is that?
Yeah, but they do it to bring in like a Jon Moxley, or to do it like you can name one homegrown talent on GCW.
Nick Gage.
He's not homegrown. He's the king of deathmatch from Japan.
But he's known for GCW. He came from GCW and went to Japan. He started out over here.
No, he's been in Japan for a long time. That's not true.
No, he's good friends with the guy that runs GCW.
Okay, so he had one little cup of tea with AEW. And even the networks didn't want nothing to do with those death matches, even though they were very much staged on AEW. That wasn't real, like some stuff. But if you have a promotion like Ring of Honor, which is the subject right now, they have to do something big to catch the eye. Like you can't take a few months off and come back and just have a normal card on April 1st. Like, they have to come back and do something that's going to catch the diehard fans' eyes. Now, whether that's more MLW style and they go back to like a traditional wrestling as like the, one of the third, fourth, fifth promotions, if it's stepping up to like an AEW style, my predictions, it's going to be a forbidden door situation where they're just constantly revolving talent in and out. Like you said, people coming in for a tour, so to speak, like a storyline here, a storyline there. I think they're going to go to storylines. I think they're going to be very much more entertainment based. That's my prediction. I think they're going to, it's got to evolve. Like, one thing Ring of Honor did that changed the whole entire wrestling business is their vignettes, right? The way the Briscoes would go off in their farm and record this dark, broody vignette that you didn't see on WWE TV or anywhere else, right? And now you see AEW kind of copying those kind of vignettes, right? You see NWA copying those vignettes. I put NWA ahead of Game Changer Wrestling, but I'm getting sidetracked. There's another one. But look, there is so many other options right now, unfortunately, for Ring of Honor, that I think they're going to be dead by 2022. I think Sinclair is going to put a little bit of money into them for this relaunch. And if it doesn't hit, if it doesn't go boom, they're going to, by the end of the year, they're not going to care about it. And it's just going to be, hey, you remember Ring of Honor Wrestling back in the day? And I think that's where it's going, because if they don't have core stars to build around, if they don't have something worth watching, whether it's on YouTube or TV or a pay-per-view here and there, because who's going to buy Supercard of Honor on April 1st if they don't know what the hell they're buying? It's going to have to be almost a free show they're giving away on TV.
I think that's why the key is the fact that they're still defending the titles, even though the promotion's not technically around right now until April. You got Jonathan Gresham going around on Impact, on the independent promotions. He was supposed to appear on GCW to defend it against Blake Christian, but then he came down with COVID. He started his own promotion, small promotion, Terminus, where he defended the title against Josh Alexander. You had Deonna Purrazzo. Roxy was the champion. She lost it to Deonna Purrazzo, and she's defending the title.
Because there's rumors Roxy's about to sign with AEW.
Yeah. And then you had the tag champs. That's the only one that hasn't been defended because the champions were Brody King and Chris Dickinson. Brody King went to AEW, and then Dickinson isn't coming back until April because of a long injury. But they're putting the wrestlers are helping with that, and the fact that they're still defending the title. It's still getting thrown around, showed. It's still be considered the ROH World Title, and I think as long as they keep
they're doing their best to keep the name alive, like through Impact and Game Changer and all these cameos by the Ring of Honor talent. They're doing their best to keep the name alive because they know that if that talent isn't out there promoting Ring of Honor, nobody's turning in April 1st. They don't care. It's dead.
I think that's a big thing where you can do that. It'll keep the eyes on them. As long as they go around and other independent wrestlers see that, there's still a chance that those wrestlers will be like, oh, they're restarting this. This is another opportunity for me to go somewhere else independently and wrestle because that's what it looks like they're going to do. So, and that's a good thing where you bring your title to another indie promotion so other people can see that there's other opportunities. So you're getting yourself out there, all these different places. Yeah, and that's why I think it's key. As long as they're doing the short-term contracts, I think it could survive. But if they stick to like the 1, 2, 3 year deals, I'm with you where I think they're dead by 2022.
Yeah, I think it's sad. I loved Ring of Honor, like especially in the early years when that's where you would see a CM Punk AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. If you haven't seen that triple threat match, like that's one of the classic matches you can look up anywhere in time.
There's that. There's Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah.
You got Sami Zayn, who was El Generico versus Kevin Steen.
Mm-hmm. And all these guys got to cut their teeth in Ring of Honor. And they had independent success before that, but Ring of Honor put them on American television. And it put them in front of the fans that we now know. Kevin Steen was a hot commodity before he signed with NXT. They wanted him, Impact wanted him, NWA wanted him, AEW wasn't a thing yet, but everybody wanted him and Triple H, who was collecting independent stars at the time, scooped him up. I think with the rise of NXT, whether it's 2.0 or the original, I think the rise of AEW, MLW is coming up, GCW is a thing, NWA is hanging on, New Japan's tried to get their foot into American wrestling. I think Ring of Honor is dead. I hate to be morbid about it, but I'm excited to give them one last hurrah. As a fan, I'm like, all right, let's see what April 1st comes. Maybe they'll surprise me. I want to be surprised, Dan. Please give me something to say Ring of Honor is still alive, people. We jumped to conclusions. We buried them. They weren't dead, but maybe they are. So I'll give you the last word on this before we get out of here for this episode. Answer a couple questions for me. One, what do you think happens on April 1st? Do you think they'll have some kind of huge surprise? Do you think what does the relaunch look like? And two, do you think that it even matters? Because this is another thing. Bandito, Jonathan Gresham, Bandito's had success south of the border. He hasn't had much in America. Do you think it even matters who comes out of that as the champion? Are either one of those guys really equipped to carry the brand going forward?
I think Jonathan Gresham is, because he's the name that is around. He could go anywhere.
But he's 5 foot nothing, and even though he's super talented, he's basically, there's only so many Bryan Danielsons in the world that are super small that can hang with the big good boys, Rey Mysterio, stuff like that.
Well, there's a reason why he appeared on Impact Wrestling.
But that was the lowest segment of the show. The lowest rated segment of the show was when he was on there wrestling the Pure Rules wrestling match with Macklin. Everybody
it was probably one of the best matches on there too.
It was a fan. I watched it. I'm a fan though.
Yeah.
But you're trying to get the casual fan in to watch your show that most people don't know exist. That might not be the one. I think they should have put the OGK doing an invasion was against the Good Brothers or something. So you use that invasion angle and really promote it, and hopefully they do going forward.
Because they're still doing that. They got all those Ring of Honor people. They wouldn't be using them with that unless and meant something, unless they actually signed all these talent.
Well, I think all of them are staying in Impact. I think they're all at least on short-term deals with Impact. I think Gresham is the only one that's really a crossover. Yeah. I think obviously Deonna Purrazzo probably will be. We don't know. There's still 3.5 months to go. But I don't think either guy is really built to carry the belt. Bandito may be actually more marketable than Jonathan Gresham, only because of the whole Mexican thing.
Well, I hope the big announcement is a big name that's going to be competing on the event. There's a lot of big names out there that you could bring into the promotion, and one name that just glares at me is Karrion Kross. He's out there. He's not doing anything. He's
still on no compete right now.
Him and Scarlett have already
February 2nd. I think they're free.
Yeah. So that gives you plenty of time. Maybe that's why they haven't announced anything. You can make announcements. You just can't legally do anything. He can make the announcement they signed.
You've noticed a lot of those released WWE talent. A lot of them didn't even make announcements till the no compete was done. They don't want to stop that free paycheck. They might not want to be under clause, but they don't want to stop that paycheck.
But February 2nd, that's Wednesday. I think next Wednesday.
And I could have the date wrong, but I know it's early February.
Yeah, but
before some fan in the comments gives me hell. It's not February 2nd. It's February 3rd or February.
But
I know it's coming soon.
But Scarlett has already came out and said that they won't be going back to Impact. They have no plans of doing that because of how things ended with that.
A real possibility.
Yeah, AEW is a possibility
because he almost signed with AEW before he went to WWE.
But I've heard things where he could go to GCW, but I think for them two as a couple, if they went to Ring of Honor, that's a guy you can market. That's a guy you can have come in.
Doesn't have to company on his back.
You don't have to have him compete for the world title right at that thing. You just have to be like, hey, he's here. Maybe have him wrestle somebody and then eventually win the world title.
He definitely has star potential. I think that was one of the worst releases WWE did, trying to put him in that whole Mad Max / porn character, whatever, you want to call it. And the fact that he even went with it because he's a professional. I listened to his whole interview on Chris Van Fleet. If anybody wants to check that out, definitely search that one up. He talks about all this. And his dream was always to wrestle in WWE. He's not even closing the door on WWE because he didn't actually have a problem other than being on the main roster the way they did his character. Yeah. But that said, his whole thing is right now going forward is about evolving that darker character that he like has this movie-esque type situation. And we're getting a little sidetracked off Ring of Honor, but he has this little movie-esque like type of way he does his vignettes, kind of that dark, almost like eerie, creepy type movie vibe. I can't remember what director he says he kind of models it after, but it's one of those things. Bray Wyatt's another guy doing the same thing. Sorry, Wyndham Rotunda with his vignettes now, because they're all in that free the narrative thing now, because he's kind of joining up with Braun and them doing some of those things. Adam Scher and EC3 and all those stuff. So we're interested to see that. I think my opinion is Ring of Honor is going to be a revolving door, just like GCW. People are going to come, people are going to go. They'll try to make a good little tour, a little storyline here and people, and then you won't see them again for 6 months or a year. But I don't think that works. I think too many people are already doing it, and I think that's the end. Last word, do you think Ring of Honor has a successful relaunch?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, we'll all see you on April 1st. Of course, this episode probably won't age gracefully. They'll probably have a huge announcement right after we release this, just like any podcast or show in the world. As soon as you release the show, big announcement comes out. So always. A little risky doing this episode today. As we're recording it, they still haven't announced the big surprise yet that they were supposed to announce this week a couple days ago. So we'll see. I'm optimistic, Dan, but I'm also being realistic and kind of almost pessimistic at the same time. But as a fan, I want to be optimistic, Dan. I want to be optimistic. That said, we'll be back with a new episode soon. We try to get these episodes in as best we can with everybody's busy schedule. Of course, you can catch Dan on Cage My IQ all week. DFS with Cage as well. Get all his DraftKings picks. I don't think he did very well this week, but
I did awesome this week.
Oh, you did?
I had over 700 points.
I thought you went with Cyril. You went with Ngannou?
I didn't go with either.
You stayed away? Oh, okay. I heard you talking about it before. I didn't know who you actually picked. But that's an episode for MMA talk. We'll talk about that on another show. But definitely check out FightersFirst.shop. Get the merch. See it below you. Support Slamtown. It's me and Dan. We're doing our best. We're trying to give you the great content. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments. I'm sure we'll hit it up. With that said, that's Dan Bakley. I'm Mike Ginn. This is Slamtown. We're out.